Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Keep It Kula podcast. Today, I have an analyst for both the Blue Jays and the Raptors. He is the host of Blue Jays Talk Plus and co-host of the Raptors show. Though he was once enrolled in law school, he decided to pursue a career in sport media. Welcome to the show, writer, reporter, analyst, host, etc., etc. Sportsnet's Blake Murphy. How you doing today, Blake? Thanks for coming on.
I'm great. Thank you for having me. That was a terrific intro. I see Keegan's book in the background there. We're off to a great start here.
Yeah, I had Keegan on just a few weeks ago. He was fantastic. The book is fantastic, as you know. I know you were at the book launch and all that, and it just makes me even more excited about the Blue Jays, but also makes me really sad about the whole Shohei Ohtani chapter.
Yeah, the dog being in I can picture it. The dog being in a Blue Jays like little puffer jacket or whatever. We were so close.
It's so brutal, man. But great book, and everything Blue Jays we all love, obviously. Before we start into this, how was Family Day? I know there's a lot of talks about you there with your family. You were on TV. I was watching the game, and I'm like, hold up, that's Blake Murphy right there.
Yeah, it was really funny. So I mean, like I'm on TV sometimes, so it's not.
Yeah.
But you don't get in the actual broadcast. And it's like, so I go as a fan pretty often. A lot of the times I'll do my Blue Jay Central stuff pregame, and then like I have to watch the game and talk about it the next day. But I don't often write off the game or do postgame stuff. So I can kind of just like chill, go meet friends, have a beer, and I'm like mortified at the idea that. And luckily this didn't happen. It was just me talking to my mom. But I have had two friends get put on the broadcast, and the like producers or directors knew who they were and caught them like with mouths full of food, like stuffing their face. So I'm so worried that it's gonna happen to me sometimes where I'll be eating, like I'll be two loony dogs deep or something like that, or like with one of the king cans of Bud, and I'm supposed to be on the clock or whatever. So
Yeah.
luckily it was just me explaining to my mom who Yariel Rodriguez is. So my mom came and she listens to the show sometimes, but like she's not really a baseball fan, so it's just
Sure.
background noise while she's babysitting my nephews or whatever. So she didn't really know who Yariel was or whatever, and his story. But it was cool. It was really nice of the Blue Jays to let us do that. Got to meet some people's, girlfriends or wives or boyfriends or parents, brothers, whatever. It was really cool. My mom and stepdad had a great time.
That's awesome. Yeah, no, the whole getting caught on TV is pretty brutal. I have friends actually. There was this one super viral. I want to say like 4 years ago. They were at a Montreal Alouettes game sharing a hot dog before them. I'm sure you saw it. It was like all over like Sportsnet misplays or whatever.
Nice.
So like you're always a little bit worried.
Yeah, so I had never, I don't think I'd like made the Jays broadcast as a fan before, luckily, and I honestly I won't eat that much for snacks at a Jays game for exactly this reason. Like they're gonna show me I got like peanut dust in my teeth or something like that. But they did. So I cover the Raptors too,
Yeah.
and I almost never get to go to a Raptors game as a fan because I'm always doing post game stuff. So I gotta kind of stay locked in, not like like the Jays. I can be more a fan sometimes.
Sure.
But one time I was there as a fan, and they put me on the jumbotron at a break. But the Raptors were like playing brutal, and I remember it very vividly. It was Pascal's return game with Indiana, and Doug McDermott was just lighting the Raptors up. And I was like tweeting furiously about Doug McDermott again, this guy.
Yeah.
And then I missed being on the jumbotron, and people were like texting me like get off your phone, man. So that one
Brutal.
wasn't too bad, but I felt like, oh no, I'm one of these guys being on my
Yeah.
phone at the game.
That's so brutal. Before we get into, because there's so much to talk about, it's actually the perfect timing to have you on my show. Like, Blue Jays had a rough weekend, and NBA draft is tomorrow night. The NBA Finals just happened. Like, so much to go through. But first, I want to hear the origin story from you a little bit. So you thought you were going to become a lawyer, and then you decided, nah, I'm going to go pursue a career in sport media. That's pretty big of a 180.
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit the origin story and how you became Blake Murphy, who we all know very well.
Yeah, so I didn't really want to do law school. I just I went to Queens for business, and I only really picked that because I didn't know what I wanted to do when high school was done.
Yeah.
So then I'm almost done business school. I still don't know what I want to do, so I'm like, well, let's keep some options open. Let's go to law school. So I was enrolled at Western for law school. And I couldn't really, I was paying for everything myself. It was going to be I had to work multiple jobs through undergrad. It was going to be too much. So I was like, I'll take a year and I'll work and save some money. So during that year, I had like blogged a tiny bit when I was in undergrad, but during that year, I really started to blog a lot more. It's around the time Raptors Republic started, and I got on with them. I was doing some like baseball analytics stuff. So then in that year where I was supposed to be saving money, I was like, maybe I really like doing this. Maybe I want to think about that. So I deferred a second year, and they were like, okay, that's it. You have to come next year, or you can't do it. So eventually I decided I didn't want to do law school. I went to UBC for a master's of journalism instead, and then ended up dropping out of that to, chase jobs in the industry. But yeah, law school was just like kind of and it was like in the back of my head, like with a business and law combo, like maybe I could work in a front office, maybe I could be, an agent or work for an agency or something like that. So being in sports was always kind of like somewhere in my head. But yeah, it was that the only reason I did sports media is because I was too broke to go to law school. So the way it turned out. But yeah, it was kind of during that time I started writing. I was like, nah, this is more fun. I kind of gave myself a window where I was like, if this doesn't work out in a couple years, then I'll go back and like work a real job and stuff. But luckily I haven't had to do that.
No, and what was the shift like going onto TV, right? You were a writer, as you said. Now I watch you every day on Jay's Talk Plus. I know I listen as well, but I like to watch. Like, you're on TV, you're on Sportsnet Central, you're doing Jay stuff. What was that shift like of being, someone who thought you'd maybe working an office job to now being on TV every single day?
Yeah, it's been interesting because, I started as a writer, and that was like TV wasn't really something I had thought of. I just wanted to write. And I still really like writing. It's not a big part of my job anymore, but I still really like doing it. So 2021-ish, Sportsnet came and wanted to hire me for the radio side. And so that was a big adjustment. It's a big adjustment, like technically in terms of the job, because if I'm writing, I can take, especially like I've only ever written digital, not for a newspaper. I can be as long-winded as I want. I can take as much time. Here's a graph, here's a table, here's an anecdote, here's a quote. When you're on radio, you have more space to fill, but you can't show people. You have to tell people, and it has to be more conversational. So I had to ditch some of the not ditch, but really pare down, how much analytics stuff I'm going to lean on. You certainly can't do X's and O's on radio and things like that. And then TV just kind of flowed naturally from that. So in my head, Jay's Talk Plus is it's still a radio show. To me, they just have the camera turned on. And we have to be careful. If you're watching on TV, we'll play some highlights and stuff like that. But I can't, because people listen on radio and podcasts, I can't really be let me break this down for you. When I do Raptor Show with Matt Bonner, Matt's so good at the X's and O's stuff, but a bunch of our audience can't see what we're talking about. So there's a technical aspect to that being different. In terms of actually being on TV, I don't really get nervous doing it or anything like that, other than what I look like. I'm not worried about what I say. I'm pretty good at hitting my timing cues and stuff like that. But if I wear an outfit that doesn't look good, or say, I don't know, I've got enough friends that'll roast me and things like that. So I gotta be that's the part, how I look when I do Blue Jay Central and that. It has been a tough adjustment. The actual what I'm saying, I'm pretty used to it at this point. I'm being long-winded right now because we don't have a time cap. But if you were like, Blake, you got to be out in 90 seconds, that would have been a 90-second answer.
Yeah, you would speed it up.
Okay. Yeah,
exactly. No, you're a pro, and you've been doing this. You've been in this for a long time now, so you seem comfortable on there. You sound comfortable, so it all sounds good. So I want to talk a little bit about the NBA. We have the draft coming up tomorrow. You're big on the Raptors, obviously, but I do want to talk about our Canadian Shai Gilgeous-Alexander winning the championship. What a game. I thought it was a great game. Unfortunately, Tyrese's injury was brutal to see. Would you say that was one of the most heartbreaking moments in a game 7 of all time?
Yeah, I mean, I can't imagine what else there would be in a game 7. And obviously I remember the Klay Thompson and Kevin Durant injuries in 2019 quite vividly, but those were situations where the Raptors were ahead. Obviously that changes the accounting of the series, but Golden State was already playing without KD. The Raptors were ahead. It wasn't game 7, and things like that. And then it was just.
They also had Stephen Curry too.
And I don't know, the Obi Toppin's comments post game are just going to sit with me for a long time, of just how they really tried, and they tried not to let it show, but it was pretty impossible to not put that out of your head. And it happened so early in the game too. that's tough. And like Tyreese seems like such a good dude too. Like I don't know if you saw he posted a big thing on social media about it, and he's also a fellow wrestling fan like me.
Yeah,
So
yeah, he is.
so really pulling for him. But yeah, that sucks because that's not only Game 7 and a terrible way to end that season. That's like you're in the middle of your prime with like Pascal in his early 30s and stuff like that. That might take you guys out of it for all of next year too, which is
he's likely
it's
gonna
tough.
miss the whole year, I would think.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah. So it's pretty depressing. And like it was such a cool and fun playoff run for them. Such a great series. It feels unfair to end it that way.
It was, but definitely don't want to take credit away to OKC. You know, Shea had the greatest season, obviously MVP of the season and Finals MVP, fellow Canadian, fellow Blue Jays fan. As you said, you mentioned how you really want to see Shea throw the first pitch.
Yes,
How do we make this happen? How do we make this happen,
So,
Blake?
I know that one of the people who run Blue Jays social media and would have people's ear on stuff like that is a huge basketball guy too, and is very aware that Shea is a Blue Jays fan and will be bringing the Larry O'Brien back at some point. So I'm sure he's on top of it. Like usually I don't know, whoever the Raptors draft Wednesday night will probably throw out the first pitch at some point too, right? They're usually pretty good at being on top of that.
Very good.
I think like RJ Barrett, I think, joined Dan Schulman on the broadcast 2 years ago when it was like heading into the Olympics and stuff. They do a pretty good job integrating that stuff. If Shea wants, I'm pretty sure they'll make it happen at some point.
I want a Shea bobblehead night. Like that's probably impossible, but
Yeah, I don't know where that gets into, like with like MLB and NBA licensing stuff, but like they've done some pretty out there silly ones. Like they're doing a Charlie Brown one. It can't be that tough to do a Shea Larry O'Brien. I don't know, throw Lou Dort on there too while you're at it.
Yeah, 100%. And so like with this finals, do you think that game would have ended differently with Tyreese being in there? You think it would have been a closer matchup? Could have been a buzzer beater? Could have been Tyreese could have locked in the end? Like could we have seen something different?
It's so tough to say because like the Pacers were the don't count us out team, right? There's like shoulder up at 2.9, can't keep them down, and like the Thunder are the hardest team to do that against. But it was still like if Tyreese is in there and they cut the lead to 10 or something like that in the fourth quarter, I would have had a little bit of belief. Honestly, I didn't think it was getting 7. I picked Thunder in 6 out of the gate when I thought it was going to end in Game 6 when we heard the reports of the status of Tyrese's calf. So I think I still would have, I had picked OKC for that game, but we got robbed of at least that tension of, 2 threes before the fourth quarter here, and then suddenly it's a new game. They don't have that kind of closing speed without Tyreese.
Yeah, and it's too bad too because he had such a great start of the game. He was so fired up. There's no nerves, but still a great NBA playoffs. I would say one of the best years of the NBA playoffs, even without the Raptors in it. I think it was one of my favorite NBA playoffs I've watched in years. So many great storylines, really, really fun. But yeah, moving on from the finals, got to talk a little Raptors. So we have the draft tomorrow night. I know you said you're going to be busy with that. You're not going to be able to watch Max Scherzer start tomorrow night.
Yeah,
right?
I'll have it. So luckily, like the game starts at 6:40, so I'll be able to catch like a little bit of it and have it on a second screen. But yeah, I got to do a draft show live that night, so it'll be coming back to watch the rest of it on PVR after, unfortunately.
So with the draft coming up, Cooper Flagg is the obvious first pick, I would say. I'd be shocked, or unless you see otherwise.
No.
Yeah,
it's Cooper Flagg.
Yeah. Who are the Raptors, or who do you want to see the Raptors drafting here? Do you want to see them make a trade with the pick? What are your hopes and expectations with them?
Yeah, it's tough because the draft is pretty open after number 2, so it's so hard. This feels like a cop-out, but it is really hard to tell who's going to be there at number 9. This draft is a little bit like the year that they drafted Jakob Poeltl and Pascal Siakam and signed Fred VanVleet as an undrafted free agent, in that there are some soft tiers. This one is like a pretty hard top 2, and then from there it opens up. But the year that they drafted Poeltl 9th, everyone was like, this is the top 8. And then at number 9, you could go anywhere. And then at number 27, like, who knows who's even going to be. Like, some of the guys who were in the mix at 9 were still on the board at 27. Like, Deontay Davis fell into the 40s, and he was ranked like around the top 10. So it's pretty hard to say in this one. So instead, I don't know, I don't think Trey Johnson's going to last there. I don't think VJ Edgecombe's going to last there. So even though I like those guys, I think it's pretty unlikely they fall. I do like Jeremiah Fears if he falls. I think he probably has a higher percentage chance of not working out than some of the other names at number 9 because he needs to add so much strength. And when your main skill is rim pressure, if you're not able to add that strength and that finishing, you kind of lose your number 1 skill. But I do think he can develop it. I think the shot is better than the percentages show. So if he slid, that's probably the guy who could conceivably get to number 9 that I like the most just overall. I'll just say, like, all of the centers are some level of interesting. Malawach, Queen, even Sorber. And then I'll say, I think relative to industry average, and I'm not saying I would take them at 9, but maybe these guys are there if you trade down a little bit or something like that to pick up an extra pick or a future pick. I like Colin Murray-Boyles and Carter Bryant better than average, I think, like better than the industry standard. Murray-Boyles is like a little tough to fit with the Raptors because he's another guy who's like, it doesn't project as a great shooter right away. So they already have some spacing issues. They were like near the bottom of the league in threes last year, but he's so Raptors-y as this like huge guy who's going to be a plus defender at multiple spots. And then Carter Bryant like didn't have a good year statistically at Arizona, but showed a lot of improvement over the year. And when you dig in and watch some of the games, it's like really wasn't used very well. He shoots the ball pretty well, so if you project him to like a role in the NBA, I think he makes sense there. So I'm kind of all over the place here, but not knowing who's going to fall, I'd say those are the 3 guys: Fears, Murray-Boyles, and Bryant, who I would say I'm slightly higher than industry standard on so far.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a great draft. Some great players. We had a great March Madness and a great college season last year. So definitely lots of top names. And, I haven't even talked about this yet on this podcast, but Kevin Durant was traded to the Houston Rockets just on the day of the NBA Finals. They had to announce it on the day of the NBA Finals, of course, for some reason. Traded for Jalen Green, Dylan Brooks, bunch of draft picks. There was talks about Durant going to the Raptors possibly. We're going to get into that in a bit. Who do you think won this trade? Rockets or Suns?
Yeah, I think Houston pretty safely. I know that, given Kevin Durant's age and the extension he reportedly wants, there's a chance it doesn't work out. But, at this stage, Jalen Green is probably not as good as the stat line suggests. Good scorer, but not crazy efficient. Hasn't really grown as a playmaker. Now, I think he can grow into that, but I don't think he's there yet. I think he's an awkward fit with Devin Booker and Bradley Beal and, a team full of their whole team is shooting guards. Unless you consider Booker kind of a point guard. I love Dylan Brooks, obviously, but from a value perspective, they traded Cam Johnson and Mikal Bridges and 4 firsts for KD, and then they get back Dylan Brooks and Jalen Green and 1 first and 5 seconds. The value there isn't that great. And then for Houston, it's as easy as like, you are the second best defensive team in the league, and you really, really struggled to score, really struggled late in the shot clock and late in games on offense. And KD just slots in perfectly. You're still big. You still have your defensive identity. You're still like 9 players deep in your rotation. So I think it's pretty seamless for them. You obviously got to hope KD can stay healthy and age at a reasonable kind of decline in his late 30s. But really like the way that their kind of 9-man rotation looks from here. And very happy for Fred VanVleet.
Oh, yeah. Now, come on. You got a sharp shooter in KD right now. It's great for him because... Yeah, Fred VanVleet, obviously Toronto, we will love him forever, obviously. With the KD stuff, I was concerned about him when there was talks about him coming to the Raptors just because of his age, and there's a lot of other concerns when it comes to Durant and the kind of, locker room guy sometimes he can be, or some people have some concerns about him sometimes. But with this happening, Giannis Antetokounmpo seems like the biggest name, or he was prior, about a trade, but then those rumors went away about us trading for Giannis. Any chance we're going to get Giannis on the Raptors?
Like, chance is greater than 0.00, but I don't feel good about it. The latest reporting is that Giannis wants to see, how the Bucks navigate the kind of draft and free agency window here in terms of how they can improve. I do think, look, this is not the way you want it to play out, but if this drags out and suddenly in mid-late July, Giannis is like, I would like out. That does kind of, Kawhi style suit the Raptors because other teams will have spent their capital by that point. Houston's got a little bit left if they wanted to do it. But, teams are going to move on if they don't think Giannis is available. So maybe that suits the Raptors. I am no longer planning as if, I was running the cap numbers before and okay, this combination of pieces makes sense. you can do this, you can't do that. I have stopped doing that, but it will be in my head. Like if the Bucks have a disaster draft and whiff in free agency and stuff like that, then I'll at least there'll be like a small part of me that's like, okay, what's the trade look like just in case?
Yeah, and if we do make this trade, are you willing to give up guys like, Scotty Barnes and RJ Barrett who've become, the Toronto superstars?
Yeah, you don't really have a choice but to give up, someone. You have to make the math work and you have to make it worthwhile for Milwaukee. I think I like RJ a lot. I like him as a dude. I think he's shown a lot of growth here and obviously a local guy. If you can get Giannis, you got to do that. Scotty Barnes is a little bit. It gets tougher. That's where, because they're going to ask for 1 million picks as part of that deal as well.
Oh, yeah.
If Scotty Barnes is not in that trade, my willingness to include picks is pretty much take whatever you would like. Because your defensive identity then with Scotty Barnes and Giannis together, Scotty getting to learn from Giannis and things like that. If Barnes is in the trade, suddenly all the other stuff that Milwaukee would get, then I'm nitpicking, and that's got to be, that gets closer to what not one for one because the math doesn't work, but how do you massage that? Because then you're not cashing in your entire future, but you're cashing in you're really ramping up for this next 2-3 years if you do that one. So I'm willing to put a lot less on the table if Barnes is in a deal.
I would definitely agree with that. Giannis, I'm a huge fan. I've seen him play twice in Toronto. I love that guy. I think we all do. When those rumors started spiraling around, I was already getting ready to buy my jersey. I bought my Kawhi jersey ASAP, and it's still my favorite jersey I have, obviously, because he won us the championship. So even though he left us, it's okay.
It's okay. And look, honestly, if you're a real big Canada basketball fan, him leaving kind of helped create the Thunder the way they are because they got 1 million picks and Shea for Paul George. So
this was the Paul George NBA Finals.
I would rather the Raptors have multiple championships than the Raptors have one and Shea and Lou Dort have one, but not a bad trickle down effect from that.
Definitely. And I want to talk a little bit about the finals just quickly. Just the playoffs. We saw superstars get hurt and especially tearing their Achilles, like Tatum, Damian Lillard, Tyreese, and many other injuries. What do you think is causing this of all these injuries? Is it too many games? Is it the shoes that they're wearing? Is it the courts? Is it the time on the court? What is going on? Because this wasn't happening 10 years ago.
Yeah, it's interesting. This is by far the most Achilles injuries in an NBA season in history. And I'm not a biomechanist, so I don't really know, but there are a couple of interesting theories that have been floated out there, and one of them is as simple as a couple of these guys played through calf injuries, and I don't need a kinesiology PhD to understand that if your calf is in a compromised state, that puts your Achilles in kind of a compromised state as well. So I think those things are related. The deeper you get into the playoffs, the more guys are going to try to play through stuff, and the more at risk of injury you are. I've seen some theories that this is a little technical, but there's a negative step move that guys will do when they're attacking one-on-one, and that's kind of a newer, dribble attack move, and that puts a lot of pressure on the Achilles as a step back and push back off move. And then I think, there's no way around the load that guys are carrying. And I know guys used to play 80 games at 40 minutes a game. That's not new. But I think you look at how much bigger and stronger everyone is. The fact that guys have to train really hard year round to be good enough in the NBA, I think there's a rolling toll that even at the AAU level, kids playing 50 games and stuff like that in a prep school season is a lot. And I think that we talk about this a lot on the baseball side too, where every pitcher has to get Tommy John at some point now because their UCLs are blowing out so early. And I think it's the same kind of thing as if you want to make it to the very, very top, this is what we look for and this is what you have to get. And how do you get there? Well, you have to do this, and this to be able to do that and get to that level. But it's maybe not the NBA game or the Major League Baseball game that is specifically causing those injuries, but it's that you did this, and this to get there, and all of that adds up over time. So you're a 12-year-old trying to throw 90 miles an hour so that you can get noticed by the best prep program, so you can get noticed by the best college, so you can get noticed by the majors, or you're a basketball player who plays for two on double AAU circuits or AAU in high school, and then you're playing 50 games and you train all through the off season because that's how you'll get noticed by prep school and that's how you'll get noticed in D1 and so on. It just kind of So I think there's kind of it's a cumulative thing across, like from grassroots level all the way up. And again, like a biomechanist or someone on the science side would know a little better, but I think those are the kind of, when I hear people talk about that, it makes intuitive sense that that's how we'd be, wearing on guys. Like even Tyree, I know he didn't play much in the Olympics, but he just did the Olympics, and he's so young too, and already has a lot of miles through playoffs and international play and things like that. So I don't know, it's tough. It just sucks.
It sucks, and I think we also have to stop getting mad at players when they have their rest days, right? There's been this whole thing of getting so mad at your favorite players for taking rest days. I think this needs to happen more often.
You're mad at Kawhi for sitting out games, but the only time he's stayed healthy the whole way the last couple years is when he sat out 22 games.
Yeah.
At 22 is extreme. Look, that's more than a quarter of the season.
Fair.
But, that it worried. I'm not saying everyone should do that, but I think like even the 65 game threshold for awards and stuff like that, even that's a little high given the modern, and like you factor in teams play 13 or 14 back-to-backs, you got 4 games in 6 nights or something like that. It's I don't know, it's tough. It hurts the entertainment product in the regular season, but definitely. If you want to make sure the best team gets crowned and guys stay healthy through the playoffs, I think you got to be, because they're not going to shrink the number of games. They're just not going to do it. So I think you have to be a little willing to, live with load management, unfortunately.
I would agree with that, because I was one of those people that would get mad, is this guy's sitting for a week for what? But I think we all have to stop. I think this playoffs really showed us that we need to keep our mouths shut and let these guys do what they need to do to stay healthy so that they don't tear their Achilles, on one play. So definitely brutal, but let these guys sit. Let them relax. Let them enjoy their off season. I think definitely the Olympics played a part of it, and also Tatum as well, right? Even though he didn't play, he was still practicing and playing a bunch in scrimmages, I'm sure, and then he tore his Achilles as well.
Yeah, and it's all like it all adds to the ledger, right? It's not, I don't think, Tatum went to the Olympics, so that's why he tore his Achilles. But he also went to the Olympics and went on a championship run. I mean, look at how long it took Jamal Murray to get back to. Sorry, my cat's playing with the webcam.
You're good.
Look at how long it took Jamal Murray to get back to looking like Jamal Murray this year, and that's a year after the Olympic run, the championship run, and stuff like that. So I think we just have to be like, I know a fan doesn't want to hear that on like a Tuesday in January when they shout out good money to see, a Raptors Warriors game and someone sits out. It sucks. There's no way around that as a fan. But yeah, if you're a team, if you're a player, and all you can, like, especially if all we're gonna do is measure guys by rings, you can't really fault them when they do what they have to do to kind of catch a ring. I hope it doesn't affect Olympic participation though, because that would really suck.
I definitely, because like we saw that in hockey as well, right? We saw some injuries at the Four Nations. I know that was right in the middle of the season, but and the NBA All-Star game is not, there's no defense because right. So a lot of
that's never coming back.
No, the NBA All-Star is forever. I think they gotta stick to what hockey's doing, but that's a totally other topic. But we see injuries and stuff, right? The NFL, their Pro Bowls are now flag football, right? So it's everything has changed, but I think it's for the better to keep these guys healthy, to actually win championships and to actually play when they're needed to. I want to move on to a little bit of baseball now. Shohei Ohtani is the greatest baseball player in the world, right? We want him on the Blue Jays. I'm on a lot of NBA Twitter, and there's a lot of talks about Ohtani, and how do you explain Ohtani in NBA terms?
There's nothing. There's nothing in any, like, I think football would be the only sport where you could really compare it, where a guy would play both sides of the ball. Like my Jacksonville Jaguars just drafted a wide receiver / cornerback this year. But like, you're not even talking about wide receiver cornerback. You're talking about the best wide receiver and a very, very good cornerback. There's no like reaching. It's like, okay, Michael Jordan was like leading the league in scoring and defensive player of the year candidate for like a 6-year window. Like, I guess that's the closest thing, but there's nothing even close.
Yeah. I was trying to think that, but I'm like, I see this all the time on Twitter. I'm like, I gotta ask Blake. If there's someone who can give me an answer, it's Blake. But it's like, it's impossible to describe Ohtani of the kind of player he is. And I know he's back to pitching, and everyone's roasting him because he's just doing a couple innings. Like, what do you think of that, of Ohtani finally pitching for the first time in almost 2 years?
Yeah, it's awesome, first of all, and like it's such a everything about Shohei is unique. Like, we keep coming up with these scenarios we never thought of, like pitching and hitting at the same time, how he counts as a roster spot. Yeah. Oh, can you leave him at DH when he comes out as a pitcher? Like, there are all these Shohei Ohtani rules and wrinkles. Yeah. And this is a fascinating one where if it were any other pitcher recovering from UCL surgery, they would be in the minors doing the rehab stuff. And that one inning would have come in a game in the Florida Coast League. And then his next inning would have come at single A. And then he would have got up to 2 innings in double A and 3 innings in triple A. And this would be a 30-day process, if not longer. But because he's also one of the greatest hitters in the world, you either don't, like, the two options they had were you do it this way and he does his rehab games live in games, or you don't have him pitch until 2016 or 2026 rather, when he can ramp up properly through spring training. And they're so thinned out on pitching and he's so eager to pitch that they're doing it this way. It's cool now. Like, the Dodgers are good enough that they can sacrifice this, and like every win doesn't matter that much to them because they're going to make the playoffs regardless. Where this gets super fascinating to me is, like, what if he's only built up to like 4 innings by the time the playoffs roll around? And I don't think you can really use him out of the bullpen, because how's he supposed to get warmed up for a game to come out of the bullpen when your spot in the order might come up? Like, you can't like throw 7 pitches, go hit, and then get back to warming up. That's not how it works. So they kind of have this, like, I think it's safe to say he'll get up to 3 innings. Like, he threw a 1 inning each of the last 2 times. I'd imagine he'll get up to 2 innings at 3 innings at some point. But they're really not going to push it pitch count wise. And then I guess they have half a season left. But I'm so fascinated to see how this plays out in October.
Me too, man. It's going to be amazing. And speaking of, pitching in the minor leagues after an injury, Max Scherzer, the legend, practically it's kind of his first start of the season tomorrow. I know he played already, but I don't really count those. How many games did he even play before he got hurt?
He pitched 3 innings, 1 game.
Sorry, innings, yes. 3 innings. So he is back finally tomorrow night against the Cleveland Guardians. What are your hopes for Scherzer? Mad Max is back.
Yeah, it's awesome. Like, as a baseball fan, getting to watch one of the greatest pitchers of this generation in a Jays uniform is amazing. And it was cool in spring training when he was dominant. It was cool. Those first 3 innings were cool, even though he wasn't necessarily dominant. Watching him in a AAA game the other day was great. Mostly, I'm just going to be like, please get through it healthy. Like, and I'm not going to be like that every start, because he's 40 years old and this thumb thing could come back or whatever. But for this first start, just get through it healthy. Tell us you feel good the next day and things like that.
Yes.
Then I'll start to dream on, like, what does the actual performance look like. For right now, with the Jays rotate, like, I just want like 5 solid innings out of him here and there. I don't need him to be Cy Young, Max Scherzer. Upgrade the spot that Bowden Francis was holding down, or the bullpen day spot. But mostly just want to see him healthy. I want a whole summer of Max Scherzer. I don't want 5 more innings and then the thumb thing flares back up again. So it's been cool to have him around and like learn about him a little bit from other pitchers and things like that up close. But yeah, time to see him in a game. This will be a lot of fun.
I am so ready to see him, especially after this brutal weekend against Chicago. They lost 2 out of the 3. What went wrong in these the 2 losses? Because their 1 win was beautiful, tons of hits, right? We had David Schneider had 2+ hits, right? We had Bo. Did he get 2+ hits or 3 hits?
Bo and Vlad both homered, I think, in that one.
Yeah. So why are the Jays beating some of the best teams in the league, but then almost get swept by the worst team in the MLB?
Yeah, some of it is just like baseball's random sometimes. Like, the Angels swept the Dodgers earlier this year. I don't know. Weird stuff can happen. Personally, I think like Friday was just one of those days. Like, the White Sox scratched their pitcher last notice. You get bullpen day and can't get anything going. Spencer Turnbull and Mason Fluharty are bad on your own bullpen day. Like, I don't know. I think before that one, the Jays were 7-2 on days that they ran a bullpen day. That's just not going to hold up. It's going to happen sometimes. Sunday, though, was like that was a bad one. Lots of missed opportunities offensively. I think twice they ran into outs with the contact play on with runners on the corners. I think they were like 2 for 9 with runners in scoring position and stranded a bunch of runners. There's the Jeff Hoffman error. I think that one was just and you hope it's like a little bit of a warning of like, okay, don't get too high here. You've been playing good baseball, but like you can't assume a series win against the White Sox. You can't assume a series win when you go into Colorado in a couple weeks. So hopefully it's a little bit of a reminder for them, because these next 10 games, there's no White Sox on the schedule when you got at Guardians, at Red Sox, and then 4 at home against the Yankees. Hopefully they got the one like little jitters game out of their system here.
Yeah, can we blame the Toronto Heat, even though the dorm is closed?
Both teams played in the Heat.
The Toronto Heat is crazy. Come on, these past two days, I haven't felt it. And also Barger was dealing with a little something, and he missed. The
hip discomfort.
Yeah, because when the games he played, he had no hits either. So there's definitely, and then the pitching had some issues, obviously. But with the Jays, we have trade coming up, and I know everyone's asking you about who are the Jays going to trade? Who are the Jays going to trade? Who are the Jays going to trade? Can I just ask you? Or if they are, or are they going to be buyers or sellers?
Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty confident they'll be buyers at this point. If things had gone south, I think there was a case if things didn't go well this year. You have Vlad and Jimenez and Kirk and Varsho kind of ready to go as those guys are here for a little while. Yeah. If things went poorly this year, you explore, Bassett's an expiring contract, some of your relievers, maybe even Kevin Gausman, you see what's out there for him. And then Bo Bichette gets interesting because he's a pending free agent. Now, they're good enough. They're in a playoff spot right now. You're not selling guys off just for the sake of selling and looking ahead to 2026. This is what you're playing for, to be in a playoff spot, and there is a lot of talent on his team. So I think they'll be buyers. Now, I think they've got a couple weeks here to tell the front office, you should be really aggressive because we're real good. Like, if they're right there with the Yankees at the top of the division at the end of July, you can make a case for them to be pretty aggressive and be like, look, 2027 is cool, but 2025 is what matters right now. So the other thing that'll happen the next couple weeks is, I think we're going to find out where they need to, let's assume they're not going to be the most aggressive team in the world, because this front office has never really done that. So there are people who say, get a leadoff hitter or a middle of the order bat. Get a bench upgrade on the Davis Schneider spot, say, not to pick on him, but John Schneider just hasn't used him that much.
Yeah.
Get another starter. Get bullpen help. You probably can't do all of those things. So what do the next couple weeks look like? If Scherzer and Lauer look good, if Bowden Francis gets on a rehab assignment and looks good, if we hear Alek Manoah's reports are good from, as he starts to build up through bullpens and things like that, maybe starting pitching isn't your highest priority, and you just look for guys like Lauer guys like Stripling the other year, who could start in a pinch but give you some length. And then you focus on relievers or a bat. And then if Anthony Santander comes back and looks good, and he's a little behind schedule right now, but let's say he comes back and some of the power's there, maybe you're like, okay, I actually like the lineup pretty well. There's some length to it now. Let's focus on getting a top-end starting pitcher instead that bumps Bassett from 1 to 2, Barrios from 2 to 3, Gausman from 3 to 4, whatever. So I think these next couple of weeks will be interesting with respect to that. If you look at what's available from the teams that are out of it right now, there really isn't a ton of starting pitching yet. You're talking Sadney Alcantara and whoever the White Sox put on there, but we just saw the White Sox. Did any of those guys look all that good to you? Not really.
No.
So if the Diamondbacks fall out of it, they're an interesting starting pitching team. The Red Sox fall out of it, they're an interesting. The Rays are. I thought a couple of their guys would be available, but they're playing too well. So these next couple of weeks will be fascinating. So I'm comfortable saying the Jays will be buyers and need to buy. It's just whether the priority is a top bat and a reliever versus a starter and a bench bat. We'll see how these next couple of weeks go.
It'll definitely be interesting. And I also want to mention, Vladdy was just moved to the 3rd spot. Is this the greatest move in sports history, putting Vladdy at the 3?
I don't get it. I don't No, I get moving him to 3. Sorry, I don't get why he's so much better at 3. And I asked a couple people around the Blue Jays on the weekend, and everyone seems to believe it's a real effect, but nobody really understands why. The craziest part of it to me is that, the explanations for it are not that good. But if you told me there's something about he just wants to watch the pitcher a little bit more, maybe there's a better chance someone's on base in the first inning or whatever, I would get it. Except that the Vladdy hitting 3rd effect doesn't even take effect until the second time through the order. In the first inning, when he's hitting third, he's no different than it's almost no different than when he's hitting second. So I don't really know. I don't really know what to make of it. I think it's mostly just random and a comfort thing. But I'm riding with it for now. I'm not putting him back at 2 while he's hitting this well. Don't.
No,
The other thing is, like, over the course of a whole season, him hitting third instead of second is like, that's on average like 18 extra times he won't get up. So that's a little bit of a fact. Like, he's losing 18 plate appearances over the course of the season, but maybe worth it if he's going to hit this much better.
Listen, if we're paying him all this money for 14 years and, he's hitting well third, let's just keep him there. Even if he misses some at-bats, it's fine by me. So, and also with Bo as well, there was so much, God, Twitter was just like ripping at Bo for so long, and then finally, trade him, and now he's hitting so well, right? He's hitting, I think he's, as our leadoff, right? A leadoff home run, the tying home run last week. He's been playing so well. The Jays are keeping him now, right? And are we gonna be able to sign him in the offseason? It's my worry there.
Yeah, the signing I'm less sure about. I think they're in a spot now where the team's good enough that you worry about that in the winter. Like, I don't, as far as I understand it, I don't think they've been negotiating in season. At least not that I've heard chatter of. But you're not going to be in a playoff spot and trade your leadoff hitter and shortstop away, even if you don't love him as a leadoff hitter. Like, the scenarios where you trade Bo Bichette away and the net is that your current roster is better is just really hard to see. I don't really know where it would line up. So I think you play it out. You hope he keeps hitting this well. In the wintertime, if he's too expensive for you or you can't, I mean, you get a compensation pick for him, I guess. It's not great. But to me, like, if that happens and it comes at the end of a really fun playoff run, well, that's a cost of winning. I'm not trading him at the deadline. Like, it's so hard to see a scenario where trading away Bo Bichette at the deadline makes them better.
I don't see it. I don't see with so many of these guys. I truly love this team. I love this lineup. Obviously, there are some, issues here and there with them, but I'm a big fan of this lineup. Pitching definitely needs work. But to end it off here, I kept keeping you on long. To end it off here, do the Jays actually have a chance this year? Like, do you actually could they? As someone who's very, I love my Jays, and I'm very big on the Giants I thought were going to win the Super Bowl last year, and I'm a Giants fan, I'm very big on the teams I love. I see the Jays being able to get it done with how well they've been hitting, and just how random this season has been, and how our division is kind of up and down a lot. Can the Jays win the World Series this year?
Yeah. I mean, this is the beautiful thing about baseball is, like, the 162 game grind is to get you there, and then once you're there, like the Arizona Diamondbacks the other year, nobody expected that to be a run, and I know they didn't win it all, but they made it to the World Series, and I don't think that team was as good on paper as this Jays team can be. I think the Jays have a lot of question marks still. They have a couple of holes that they're going to need to plug by the deadline, but they look on par with the Rays and Yankees and on par with any of the top teams in the AL West. I think the Tigers are the only team that in the American League looks a little better than everyone else, and Tarek Skubal's going to go a long way, But yeah, this is the beauty of it. Once you get there, good or bad, a lot of things can happen. So I wouldn't pick them against the field at this point, but I'm pretty confident saying I think they're good enough to make the playoffs. And then from there, you play a little, you hit the playoffs playing well, getting as healthy as you can, and you have some of the breaks that didn't go your way the last 2 times go your way this time, and I don't know. I've never covered a team that won the World Series. I don't know what that looks like, but 20. If you get back to things feeling like 2015, 2016, that's a lot of fun, and then you're just talking about getting a couple breaks and you're making a run.
You never know. Listen, the Raptors had a lot of people counted them out back in 2019, and they were the winners. They won the championship, and the greatest season of sports in my entire life. It was the greatest, but come on. Oh, I can't even. No, the parade was crazy. Were you at the parade? Were you covering it there?
I was at the parade. Yeah, I was in that little at Nathan Phillips Square, the little concrete thing that goes around the back. I was up there. Yeah.
yeah, that was a crazy day. So if the Raptors ever win again, I don't think I'd go again. I think it was way too crazy for me.
I think I would tell sports because I wasn't at Sportsnet at that time. I
Yeah.
think I would tell them like I need to be somewhere that like has a fan and maybe someone
Oh,
missed, and we need to be a little
please.
better on schedule. No, I would be there. It would be a lot of fun.
Yeah,
Um,
maybe I would I would watch from afar, maybe not
yeah,
be right in the middle there. But yeah, it was a fantastic year. But thank you so much, Blake, for coming on. You were so fun to have on. Great conversations. You know the way like you're a great analyst, and the way you speak with so much poise, and you just sound so damn smart every time you speak. So I
I don't
really
know about all
appreciate you
that,
coming.
but thank you.
I hear it. Come on, I do. So thank you so much for coming on. And yeah, so right now we can catch you on Blue Jays Talk Plus every morning, 10 to 12. Soon will be Raptors show coming soon. You're on Sportsnet Central. You're doing everything right now.
Yeah, yeah, I'm all over the place. I guess the only thing I'll plug is I'm doing a draft night show too,
Yes, yes.
like a draft edition of the Raptors. So that'll depend on when the Max Scherzer game ends. I'll
Uh-huh.
just like take over when the game ends. But yeah,
So
if any of your listeners are Raptors fans too, that's coming Wednesday.
we have it's mainly Toronto sports on this show anyway. So
Great.
everyone here are Raptor fans. But once again, Blake, thank you so much for coming on. Can't wait for the rest of this Jays season and for the draft tomorrow night and for the upcoming Raptor season, which may or may not have Giannis Antetokounmpo on the team. All
Thank you.
right. Yeah, of course. Thank you so much. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed the episode, please give it a like and don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Thank you. Bye-bye.